Mental Health Bytes podcast, support during back to school season. The back to school season can come with a mix of emotions for students. As caregivers, parents, and supportive adults, it's important to understand how to promote optimal mental health for the students in your life. Let's look at some of the ways that we can support our children's mental health as they head back to the classroom. One of the things that comes up a lot here is questions from parents, youth workers, and caregivers about some of the challenges that kids may face. Here are a few questions that we're going to share with you today. First question: what are some of the challenges in a child's behavior that may indicate that they are experiencing back to school stress or anxiety? I think one of the biggest things that you see, especially with elementary school age kids, is attachment. You start to see, kids being a little bit avoidant towards going back to school. They may feel a little more clingy and holding on to their parents or their caregivers, or even sometimes items within their homes, blankets, teddy bears, things that they have pretty much sought ownership of. They want to stay connected and remain connected to those things instead of launching back into the school year. Now, this doesn't mean that your kid's being bullied or they have academic issues, but it's just a transitional period in their life. And sometimes those children, they need just a little bit of encouragement to feel comfortable to launch back into school. Most kids who go through this, they adjust pretty much in the next week or two. But some kids may take a little bit longer, but it's just that transitional period from being home or being at camp or being with family members during the summer to getting back into that school groove. Question number two: what are some ways to promote optimal mental health for young people at home through the school year? I think one of the best things to do is to offer two things, actually. I'm going to give two tips here. The first thing I would say is offer space to talk. It's a very common thing that is said, but a lot of times young people just don't have either the language or the opportunities to talk to their parents or their caregivers about what's happening. So just promoting opportunities to engage in what's happening, checking in with your young person. It doesn't have to be an everyday check in, but at least once or twice a week, I think is healthy to just see what's going on. Also, pay attention to their behaviors. Are you noticing any extreme changes in eating, sleeping, grooming? Their level of engagement with their peers or themselves. These are all important things to help pay attention to, just to make sure that you're promoting optimal mental health. And then the other thing that is really good here is to model behaviors as well. So making sure you're taking care of yourself. If one person's having a bad time in the home, it can affect anyone. So making sure that you're doing your thing and doing healthy behaviors is important because kids get to see that and they can model some of those behaviors as well. That's kind of two in one. My second one was actually going to be sensory, making sure that people have their sensory needs are met. And sometimes we don't know what these are until they affect a young person. Like I have one of my children, they're sensitive to light, so low dim lit rooms is something that they like. So one of the things that we did over the summer was we set up kind of like these neon light settings. So they don't have to have the actual lights on in their room. They can just cut these lights on and they're like a light purple. And it just sets a different type of mood in that young person's room, but it's calming for her. And I don't think she has anxiety issues just yet, but I know that this is something helping to prevent those things from showing up in the home. So just making sure that the sensory needs, the things that they need to touch and feel, the things that they need to smell, any things that they utilize through their vision, all these things are helpful to promoting optimal mental health throughout the school year. Question number three: what are strategies caregivers or parents can use to have conversations with younger children about their feelings? How about older students? Um, Again, young students or young children don't always have the words for their feelings. So I think a feelings wheel can be helpful, or anything, and these are very easy to find online. You can Google these. Any type of feelings chart with faces or emojis or characters on there can be helpful. Another strategy with younger children is if you read books with them, sometimes you can point at the characters in the books and their facial expressions and ask them, what do you think they're feeling in this photo? That's something, and it doesn't have to be a human face. It can be an animal or just some made up character. Just say, well, do they look happy here? Do they look upset? Do they look mean? And that just gives them another place to kind of find the facial expressions and help them identify. And then from there, you can ask, have you ever felt like that? Or do you feel that way now? Or another follow up question to get them to identify with their emotions and the things that they see. I think that's always been a helpful tool for young children. For older children, it gets a lot more tricky because they're less likely to admit that they're that they're having any emotional things going on because they want to maintain their privacy a lot of times. And again, I think that here it's the communication style. So, can you reach your kid through text? Can you reach your kid through a note? Can you reach your kid through an email? I mean, there's so many different things. Sometimes you can just talk directly to them, but older kids tend to want to maintain a level of kind of privacy and confidentiality, and parents don't always get to get an insight there. But creating that space and an opportunity for conversations is good. And then also sharing. I think sharing is important from yourself, and you can share your mood as well, just to let folks know within the home that it's okay to share how we feel. One strategy that you can use for older and for younger kids is if you have any share time together, whether that's dinner or maybe you all do like a check-in or anytime where families coming together for something, you can just do a round robin style and do what's called high low and just ask, how are you feeling? Give your high of the day, give your low of the day. Usually just as an end of the day activity, or you can do it from the previous day. And then it helps people to really process and slow down and think about how their day was and what was the high point of their day, what went well, and then what was the low point of their day, what could have been better. That's always been a good check-in for myself with my family. I learned a lot about things that they like about school and don't like about school, or if it was a bad lunch, or there's a particular student that they're avoiding, or something like that at school. I've been able to get a lot of good insight to how they're viewing the world around them just by doing the high low, and then everybody just goes around and shares their high and their low. Question number 4: if a child is experiencing increased stress or anxiety as they head back to school, are there ways for parents and caregivers to collaborate with staff and teachers? Absolutely. I think some of the best ways, and this is something that I've noticed that's happened a lot more these days, is making sure you have the emails of your teachers for your children. Um, and send an introductory email. This is something that I do every year at the beginning of school year. Hey, this is who I am. This is who the mother is. If there's any concerns you have, feel free to send us an email back. Typically, at my kids' school, they email us all the time, newsletters and stuff, but and like little weekly reviews. But oftentimes teachers will reach out to you when your students have an issue, and you kind of want to get ahead of that. You don't want them to feel like every time they contact you it's because of something negative that's going on. But checking in with your young person's teacher is a good thing. Participating in conferences, I think, is another healthy thing as well, so that you're showing up. Asking questions, don't be afraid to ask questions, even if it feels like it may be a silly question or a question that you kind of know the answer to, but you just want to confirm. Definitely still ask it. The teachers are here to connect as much as possible. And through my experience, I think a lot of teachers actually appreciate parents being involved. So make sure that you ask a lot of good questions. PTA, I think is good too. So the parent teacher associations, if your school has it or a version of that, is helpful. And just stay in the know. Read those newsletters and those things that come home. Make sure you're checking that stuff. Sometimes kids don't always get those things home too. So make sure you're talking to your kid and you're getting all the handouts and the printouts and things that they bring home, and redo those things, because those things do have a lot of information about what's happening within the class and within the school. And then lastly, we would like to let everyone know that if you want more tips like this or other resources, be sure to check us out at our website, www.macmh.org. That's magma.org. For more resources on back to school and other helpful things around mental and emotional health, check us out at our website. Thank you.